Welcome to 100% Positive. Now, throughout this episode, I'm going to be talking like this because I've been accused of what did they say? They said I eat my words. So I'm going to try to be more coherent, to speak more clearly. But if it's becoming a distraction, please do let me know in the comment section. Okay, so welcome to 100% Positive. Now, remember this week I said that we're going to be speaking about being the only one here, I'm going to be speaking about sex and HIV. And no, I haven't forgotten, and yes, I am going to do that. Now, the thing about sex is, the thing about Nigeria is that we pretty much pretend like we don't have sex, and that's really ridiculous for a country that has 177 million people. I mean, where are they coming from? It's not like you swallowed a pill to, get all these babies into the world, but whatever. And even among people living with HIV and people living who suspect that they are, it's also a kind of taboo to talk about sex. I think that people also, this is my own theory, I think that people do not go to test for HIV because apart from the fact that they're worried about it being an illness, they're also worried about if they're going to be able to live in the way that they had previously been living, but whether we like it or not, whether we discuss it or not, whether we talk about it or not, sex is a very important part of our life. So, when people meet me and find out that I am HIV positive, when they're bold enough, they have a few questions that they ask. I actually wrote those questions down because they're very interesting, and I'm going to be reading them out now. One of the questions is, can you have sex? Do you have sex? With whom do you have sex? And are there any restrictions? Interesting questions, aren't they? Let's start from the first one. Isn't that where the problem is coming from? Duh. Of course we can have sex. I mean, it's not like something fell off when we became HIV positive. And it's not like there's a padlock that somebody puts in our reproductive system to prevent us from feeling like, yes, we can. Absolutely. There's really no reason why we can't. Maybe if you're asking, may we have sex? I don't know. Whose permission should we seek? But of course we can. Now, I'm never sure whether this question is directed at me or it's directed at me as a positivity advocate, so to speak for all of us who are HIV positive. But I'm going to answer it in two ways. I'm going to answer it as me, and then I'm going to answer it as a person living with HIV. First of all, yes, people who are living with HIV, okay, so I'm reversing the answers, but it's fine. People who are living with HIV do have sex. Do I have sex? No. I have been celibate for a little while. It's been a long journey, this discovering my illness, and then generally going through all the stages of grief and mourning and whatever, and then finally getting to this point. And during that journey was also a journey of self-realization. And so I'm more discerning about how and where I use my body. Prior to this time I wasn't, just in case you were going to ask that, So I'm a lot pickier now. So my celibacy is not a religious thing, nor is it a moral thing per se. It's more like a personal gift I give myself. However, do people who are HIV positive have sex? Yep, absolutely. You can tick that box off. Now, why is important? It's not because of the question per se. I mean, the question is not it's not so far-fetched, or it's not so original, but it's the answer that's unique. Because the assumption is that with people who are HIV positive, if you must have sex, you should have sex with people who are HIV positive as well. Keep your disease within yourself and all other interesting stories. I wish that were the case. Actually, I don't. I don't wish that were the case. Let me tell you a little story. When I used to attend the public health center for treatment, I remember that there was a time they recognized a need for people living with HIV to have some sort of companionship. People wanted to become coupled up, but because of the stigma and discrimination, they were unable to get partners. So what they thought would be a solution would be to organize some sort of dating groups within or among the people living with HIV. So they made this public announcements to us when we go for treatment, and they'd say, if you're interested in getting hooked up with someone for good purposes, or not to just have some sexual relations and run away, you should come and submit your name and information about what you're looking for or who you're looking for and so on. When I heard that, I felt really bad. I won't lie to you. I felt very bad. And a friend of mine, a girl who I used to speak to at the center, one of the patients as well, came up to me and said, she expressed exactly how I was feeling. She said, does this mean that there's no hope for us? Because if it means that we are such wretched of earth, so wretched that we only have to select from a pool of equally flawed candidates, then maybe this illness, there can never be any progress in this illness or something. Maybe that's what the indications are. For me, I was always going to fight against this, because you can't tell me that there's something wrong with me just because of this illness. Do you understand? It wasn't something that I was going to accept. Yeah, and of course I never went for that dating service. Anyway, do you think that people who are living with HIV should be sleeping with people who are living with HIV? If you do, well, I mean, that's your opinion, but I want to tell you that it's one of the most impractical and unnecessary things that I have ever heard. It's usually driven by the fear that other people who are not living with the disease will be discriminatory, or will behave in some manner that can stigmatize the person, or that is discriminatory. However, it's not practical, because if I were walking down the street, for instance, and someone saw me, and he likes me, and he says he likes me, and I tell him I'm HIV positive, and he still likes me, are you going to arrest him for liking me? Are you going to arrest him if he wants to sleep with me? So this is not practical. People are people. Allow people be people. But somebody's going to ask, so do you want to now spread this illness because you want to have a better pool of candidates? You want to now spread your illness? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And let me tell you this thing about ARVs. For a lot of people who are living with HIV and who are on treatment and who are taking their ARVs, they have suppressed the virus to such an extent that it will be even difficult for them to transmit it. Oh yeah, Google that. So we're actually safer than people who do not even know their statuses. That is not to say, however, that we are allowed, and this is where I think that there should be a restriction, to have unprotected sex, or to be generous with our sexual dalliances, because that's not wise. That's really silly. As a matter of fact, if I were to sleep with someone who is HIV positive, I cannot even have unprotected sex. The reason is that he can actually infect me, or I can even infect him, depending on the level of virus in our bloodstream. Oh yeah. So it's never spoken of having unprotected sex. And as long as you're protected, you're probably sleeping with someone. I mean, you're safe sleeping with someone. And this is a very important part, because it leads me to a very, very important part of my whole vlog. The assumption is there's a demarcation. There are people who are HIV positive and there are people who are HIV negative. Now, in an ideal world, that would be the situation. So you would ask someone, are you HIV positive or are you HIV negative? So I know what line of the divide I stand. However, if you don't listen to anything I say, please listen to this. There are five statuses now that people everywhere should be aware of. It no longer is enough to say, oh, I'm negative or oh, I'm positive. You must probe deeper. And I'm going to list them here. The first of all, of course, is people like me who are HIV positive and who are on ARVs, antiretroviral drugs, and who know what their viral loads are. Okay? These people are trying to live a healthy life even with the illness and are doing everything possible to ensure that they are within safe range. And basically they're living life, to the fullest as much as they can within the realms of this illness. That's one. There are people who are actually HIV negative because they have tested and they keep testing regularly. That's two. Those are people that you actually know, right? There are people who don't know their status, who never tested, who never want to test, who are scared of testing or something. Whatever it is, whatever religious belief for them. That's not HIV negative. That's I don't know. That's dangerous. The earlier you know, the better, whatever the status is. That is not safe. And unfortunately, that's a lot of Nigerians. Because a lot of people don't go and get tested until something leads them to the testing center. Okay, so that's three. There are people who are HIV positive, who do not take drugs, who are not on drugs, who do not know their viral load. In fact, if I were to break this down, there'll be more than five, but let's go on. Who do not take drugs, who do not know their viral load. They've been tested once and they're aware. And so they're out there. That's four. Then there are people who are HIV negative, who have sex with protection, and who are on PrEP, which is the preventive drug for HIV. So in other words, you can't get any safer than this. These people are super safe with everything they do. They probably arrange their bed while they're sleeping. That's those kind of people, very OCD. But yeah, okay, I'm a bit jealous. But but yeah, that is the fifth group. So, in terms of sexual relations, it's not enough to just say, oh, I'm HIV positive, or oh, I'm not HIV positive, or oh, I'm sleeping with someone who's not HIV positive. Are you sure? And how recently did you test? And when you did test, how recently did you go back for a follow-up test? It's very important. Those are very, very, very important things. Okay. If you want to find out more about what I think about HIV and sex and all the attendant issues, you should go to the link that I'm putting at the bottom of this video. It's an article I wrote for Why Niger about HIV and sex. Thank you, Why Niger, for printing or for publishing that article. So yeah, that's it for this week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, well, we'll discuss something next week. Have a great week and bye. Yeah.